Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Things are still loading here. I guess it took a little bit longer to eat than I thought. Well, when we're looking here, Donald Trump complaining about Republicans not being tough on the wall or on Democrats. So that's interesting. It seems to me that he is working extra hard to make his voters feel unhappy so that they will show up in November. Okay, so we got Philly Fed Manufacturing Index and unemployment claims, so I think we could get some reasonable movement. The E-mini is, what the fuck, holy crap, is just skyrocketing this morning. So there's some news that I missed when I was reading just as I woke up. It's not a trade war, it's a trade skirmish, JP Morgan's Diamond says. Treasury yields stumble ahead of fresh economic data. Data is at 100 points higher as trade fears simmer down. And why are they easing? Did China say something? I don't see why. Comments come after the U.S. administration announced Monday it would inflict 10% tariffs. China retaliated. Both levels were seen as less than previously feared. This move up in the E-mini does not appear justified to me. Just saying. Okay, so here in ZN, we've already gone lower. We're not hitting lows of the year, but we could, if I get any kind of pullback, I think I want to sell it. I don't think I want to sell 55 there, of course, but and of course the data is messed up. I wonder if I just come here and do this again. It doesn't want to set the range, so let's make sure that we get it correct. Oh no, wait, now it's doing it. Yay! Okay, that's helpful. Okay. Now it coming up here as we open is good if we want to sell it, because the news could come out and be better than expected and push us down. It could. Right, let's put the links out and stuff. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Stream. Okay. Okay, so already a little bit of fighting there, quite a bit at 16. Well, I've never noticed a tendency for the 10-year to really like 16, but I mean, it's halfway, it kind of makes sense. I think we could see 12. That's what I would be looking for next. Good morning, Lucas. Yeah, it looks like we did miss a little bit of the move down, didn't we? Well, I really thought that I was gonna come in here and it was gonna be like this. It was gonna be flat. And I was gonna be like, well, it's be really weird for them to not go for the lows of the year at this point, but it is a higher low. But they already made sure that we didn't have that one in our favor here. So, you know, I think any move up is just a chance to sell it. I don't know. This action kind of weirds me out, to be honest, because it's like just full speed ahead, you know? Like, remember back in February when they were like, oh yeah, the higher rates, that would be so awful. And they completely freaked out. And we moved up big, like those huge crazy days back in February and May. And now we're back in the same spots and everybody's just like, oh, it's no big deal. No big deal. And like the E-mini just keeps going. It is, I mean, that is a breakout right there. Ahead of the market is often, I mean, that's something that when you open up outside of the previous day's range, there is a pretty good probability that you're going to move back into the previous day's range. But if it doesn't, and when you get a gap like that, that could be a continuation gap and it could keep going up. And when you get those, they tend to be really good days. So that the E-mini is behaving this way pre-market is extremely bullish. And it's, to me, it's like the market is saying, everything is great and we have nothing to worry about anymore. And I just don't agree with that. It's like either Donald Trump just conclusively won the trade war, or there's some big risks out there that we're not prepared for. You know? Those are the only two options with the way that things are. So, I initially thought maybe the Chinese are selling it, but it's not. It's that the E-mini is going up, and the Treasuries are responding to the E-mini. So, we'll see. Okay, why am I should be hearing some squawk here. Oh, I have to enable Flash to run in Chrome. There we go. And Bitcoin has been actually really weird lately. Okay. So the way that the futures look is a little bit different from what I'm seeing in my chart. Still a little sick. I guess it did. It was just, it looks different because of the volume. So that is correct. They had it pushed down, and then they immediately pushed it back up. And this was all within like the same 30 minutes or so. So, and look at the buying going into it. 300. So I definitely think that was some manipulation of the futures for the settlement. But I tell you what, on this sell, it did not take that much volume. Buyers stepped in. I think the sellers overstepped their hand, but if that's how little it takes to go in there, and if you actually do catch some people long off sides, it's going to be really easy for sellers to push it down and get people to puke. It's kind of what I'm thinking right now. That kind of concerns me about that move. Or we might see a little bit of like, it'll hover here and then it'll go down and push through 6 really easy. This is what I'm worried about. Okay. Well, I did not hear the squawk for some reason, but I am seeing here continuing claims is 164 versus an expected 170. And the Philly Fed is 22 versus 17, so both numbers appear good. We're getting some volatility here, but it's not a ton. I think 65 would be like the best place to sell it, but well, within the current range, you would have to be selling it at 65 at least, but I don't know. See, it's getting up there like a little bit too easily, you know? I think I would rather see it tick up and then come back down. Let's see this number, this 01. Well, darn. And that 50 is not even like... They actually had to pull it a little bit to get filled there, so that's a little suspicious. See, they want us to be going in on a stop limit there. Doesn't mean that it's not going to go through, but probably some profit taking there. Okay. So it ticked up there and it held that pretty well, and it had some stuff going into it as well, so I'm going to see if maybe they tick up again. And they're not quite lined up for it. Maybe another tick down, and then they might be ready for it. Yeah, 30 years not doing it. This one went, and this one, this 800 there. So 155 appears to be balanced price. That's pulling a little too easily. This looks like a lure to me. The E-mini is actually moving back up a little bit. Okay. So 2000. Or, yeah. It's a lower. Good place to get short. So they stacked that up big and nobody's, well, okay, 20 have gone through, but still. We might get stopped out here, but I think that this is a good. I wish that I was here. Wish that I had been short 16 and I had my risk at 17, but I was impatient. So there was an aggressive bid. They traded through it. There was an iceberg there, but they were able to trade through it and hold a good offer. If sellers are able to continue through for another price, I think we have a really good shot at the lows. Well, they're not giving up. They're holding a pretty big bid at 15.5 as well. Look at how much they're heading into 16 to lift it. Notice the big order at 15.5 now. And this is all happening as the E-mini moves up and is testing its high. It's a little suspicious. Okay, they traded down and they traded through a lot of size again. Okay offer. And there's still a big offer at 15. This is not pulling away. This is a problem right here. And this, frankly. Okay. So that was a battle, but 15.5 did go offer again. And only 3,000 traded there when there was a 6,000 at one point. I think I need to move this. And now I have my risk beyond a big offer, so that's good. So our spot actually isn't that bad. I don't like having two ticks against us though. We could have gotten that 16. We should have been smarter there. And there's no guarantee it's going to go through here. Kind of touched it, but I think their buyers are not necessarily giving up. Even though all of those numbers I was looking at pulled. Now I have to see these ones. So there's a 58 there. Let's see if the E-mini goes for it. It really looks like they're gonna do it. This is a slightly the 30-year needs to tick down. Okay. Bit of a stack. Flip. Okay. Now they're set up. Good morning, Goozy. It's actually a little light on viewers today. Did everybody make their money and decide to skip out today? or were they too embarrassed for me yesterday to come back? Zian wants to hold that 26 for some reason. I don't see why. There's not like any technical reason for it to do so, but might just be profit taking. There, okay. It went bid, but nothing traded. You'd really like to see some sort of a, level break kind of action. Well, it's interesting that the 14 is now stacking up big. ZB's coming back. The E-mini did make a new high there, by the way. Pull back a little bit. We'll see if they pull back more or not. These are hard trades. Okay, you've got a good reward potentially coming down here to like 120. Is that where I think we could get to? But they sure are making me want to just take the profit at 14.5. You know? And now it's really thickening up above for no real reason, to be honest. Are they trying to pressure the ZB to take it again? Let's see, the 5 year is not thickening up yet. And ZB is showing a lot of size at 26 now. So you kind of get this thing, people are selling into it, but there's robots are buying it because they see that the ZB hasn't taken the tick. Right? It'd be hard to hold this without the Xan ticking down to 26 at least. Okay, finally went 10K traded there. Now ZB took the tick down and these aren't able to hold it down. The thing is I like where I have my risk, and I still like the look down, even though it looks like for the moment that they're going to hold it. So the question is, do I hold it on the hopes that they're going to bust through this? Or do I take the profit and hope that they give me another chance to short it? Well, that was a good down tick. Dang. Yeah. Well, I think I screwed that one up, so let's let it come back up and clamp back down. Arger was kind of making a good case for a potential reversal day. You know what's wrong? I know what's wrong. Bada boom. I need to change this.
2018 unchanged from the forecast.
Better.
Core inflation seen averaging 4.4% in 2018 versus 4.6% forecast in July.
Yeah, is a good point.
I can say since the previous MPC, risks of inflation outlook have continued to materialize. Inflation outlook has deteriorated.
Really hard to read these kinds of moves. There's nobody.
And just to recap correctly, the rate decision does come out 20 minutes after the
Okay. So that's still some pretty strong buying. So if I can catch it at 15. John is noting the 140 even level. And if we're able to get above that, then we could trade much higher. And there's a big, huge order here in ZB that, yeah, if that pulls, we could move much higher. I don't want to buy 16.5, but I'd like to see it come back a little bit here and give us a higher low. That's one I can take.
Getting some comments now from Angela Merkel saying it was clear today that we need substantial progress on Brexit by October and should finalise deal in November.
Canada considering proposal to void patents of major U.S. pharmaceutical companies in midst of trade disputes. Oh, okay. So they're going to get rid of valid
there's still much work
patents
on future trade relations after Brexit. US markets are going to be higher in 10 years.
Seems to me that Discord does not like using the home key as have to like reset it. Did you scratch that?
Great signal from South Africa. They leave the repo rate unchanged at 6.5%.
Sorry, say again. The squawk was talking over you.
Along at 6.
More here from Finger saying Europe is less strong this year than last year. He is speaking at a Yahoo summit.
I think this is, I don't know, my read is it's going to be, if we can get above 17, there's like
more here from Merkel saying we can find practical solutions, but principles of common market must be respected. Dutch PM.
I think there's a possibility that we just gonna have one of the low grinds, big orders coming. That's what happened.
More from Rat says he is confident.
Don't really move. 16. Sorry, 30. Who really knows, right?
All right. I think it's really hard to know what it's going to do here. Here's the thing I see if I take a screenshot here.
I don't really like that. Really sucks. Yeah, I know I'm buying at the top of the range. The move down though, actually, pick down from like a 50. Yes, breakdown. Take it down.
Yeah, it did. And they could keep going too.
Could keep going. But I have seen it seems like if ES makes new highs, then he can stuff. But if it just like makes it dump off the high, he doesn't really.
Yeah.
Like more power towards ES breaking up, which sucks for my position. I'm really playing off.
You know, the correlation is always iffy because it's one of those too obvious sort of things.
Like the things like here, so like head is doesn't absorb it. Why I'm still sitting tight on this. I actually got this. It's gonna be a long time, but I did say I wanted to.
If it busts through here, it could maybe take a trade up around here, around the view up area, on the theory that it moves up to this volume area here. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, it's just poor risk. Like I'm not seeing enough clear movement to want to be just taking it as she goes. So if they do push up here, I could take one around the VWAP, but I would much prefer that they come down and make a higher low and give a signal down there.
Trade your plan.
Especially when you get you know, a really clean volume profile like that around 16. I definitely don't want to be buying above that 16 unless it's clearly unless it's already become a trend day and like we're above the VWAP and they're showing that they're going to push further.
I don't have chart.
Yeah, well, it did come back down to 29. It was, you know, kind of took 2 ticks down there. They just broke through 140. There was a big order there. We'll see if they actually clear it or not.
I've also been trying to trade. I don't know. Right now, it's kind of have like. Less. I forgot the word. Less favorable. Versus like 700.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Yeah, well, the way I like to look at it is the bigger it is there on the volume profile, the more likely I am to get filled at that price. So if I want to buy, the further away from 16 I get, the less likely I am to get it. But when you're above it, it's the opposite for the sellers. Like the higher it gets above 16, the less likely it is that the sellers are going to get filled. So if you're above 16 and they're filling people really, really easily, that's definitely a warning sign that something about the valuation has changed. Well, so like this 35.96 trading at 17 kind of says that there's more people now that think it's worth more than there was before. But that can also be a trap, because you're definitely going to see people fading 17. And so you're going to see the lures and the icebergs and everything. And in fact, that's kind of what it looks like happened there. Was they lured them into it at 17, and now they're trying to put the pressure on them. So that's why I generally just try to avoid buying above that location, just because you know that your risk reward is not as good up there. And this movement is in E-mini is crazy, and they haven't even opened yet.
I did.
No. I don't want to see a stop run. Like, to me, like, if we have a stop run, that just means that they might turn around there. Just like we did at the lows, right?
We didn't stop run down there. It slowly made its way.
Yeah, we need to watch it again, because I just remember a lot of volume going through there and it not being down at 14 for very long. But you know, the low was 15, right? And we broke 14 half and 14, and 26,000 contracts traded at 14 half.
Wait, what low? Low of the day?
Yeah, like the overnight low was 15 in ZN. So we did break the overnight low by 2 ticks, and a lot of volume traded at 14 half, and it was only there for a little while. So I felt that was some stop orders going off at 14 half.
I have 14 at some support level. Yeah, so last 10 half, 17th of day before that.
Right. Whoa, you see that tweet? So John Grady sees it too. That's interesting. He just tweeted that he thinks the Chinese are selling treasuries. Treasuries are holding at the moment, but if they take out these morning lows, fading the trend could be dangerous. Some serious fundamental pressure here. New highs in the ES are contributing to the cause. Have to see what develops. So he seems to see this selling as really unusual as well as we kind of have.
I scratch that. Till ES opens up.
This has not been too inspiring of an up move, has it?
But it was holding pretty good, and then that's 6K. Volleyed up. Good ES does.
Now that the mini is kind of doing its crazy thing, I'm not so sure that I want to just be taking a trade in here, because even if this is a good place to sell it, you're going to get a lot of back and forth action that might be more than my 2-tick stop. And like if both of those were to get filled, then And that would be like really bad risk, so. I mean, you can see that the E-mini is buying on the open. Fed Chair Powell has reportedly been making rounds on Capitol Hill amidst criticism from President Trump that could threaten the central bank's independence. I guess some drama happening on we're still sitting here. Tilray shares gain 9%. The big stock today, I guess. Damn. Okay. Oh, that already looks bad. Well, snap. Okay, well, I could take 17.5. Except for that, there's an iceberg there I don't like. Okay. This is some pretty healthy back taking kind of action here. Haven't seen it like this in a long time. Yeah. Guys, I see a possible trade here in the E-mini by still on the top of this range. Some profit taking in here, but a really nice bid. Man. Okay, seeing that at 17 is makes me nervous. We're holding a good bit at 17 now.
Guess it's a bigger pocket.
So I'm okay on risk. The last pivot was 16, and that's where I have my stop at. And the trend is up. Not the daily trend yet, we're not above the VWAP. But so taking this trade is okay. Strictly based on like my strict rules. I'm still a little nervous about it for some reason. I'm thinking the Chinese are just going to come in and just smack it down, no matter how much people buy it. You know. Okay, that was a good pressure following through right there.
Long.
This is one where I kind of have to be hands off because everything just kind of seems uncertain. Like I did the right thing. I kind of need to not let the monkey brain take over here. You know, seeing it at 18 and seeing big absorption is not unusual, even though I really want to take a profit there. Like, it makes me nervous. So it's like really strong pressure, but it's not pushing through it, you know. It is a little thick up here. All those look thick. And this 18 continues to look weak, but there's been a lot of absorption there, so I think people are a little hesitant to hit it. Yeah, see, it's still just not going through, even though the offer is weak. Lower, perhaps. I haven't been paying as much attention to these ones. The 5-year seems to be kind of leading it along a little bit. Let's see if the 5-year can't get above at the VWAP either. It's just kind of sitting here. So big absorption at 18 once again. Okay, now they're continuing through. And if you stopped at 18.5, in fact. Yeah, very good. Very good pressure. ES is in fact taking the dive. No, I'm gonna have to move this down to 200 because there was a key level before, and we're seeing people stacking up size there instead of up here where the volume profile is. So I'm gonna have to. Now I was thinking maybe if we moved up, we'd get to 21.5, but I'm seeing all that size at 200. I'm gonna take it off there if they get there. Yeah, I did it after they, at 17 basically. It was kind of before that big the touch of VWAP, and they came back. But they came right to my stop, so it was okay. And this wall does not necessarily look good.
Yeah, but just like look at what's high speed.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely you wanna. So you're gonna have to increase your price risk. So that just means trade less contracts. You know, last time we saw a wall like this at two prices like that, they traded right through it. So, but it does look scary. On the other hand, there's still a pretty big target up above us at 12.75 in the 5-year that could keep us going. So. Or I could just take 19 and not worry about it. Like, the way that ticked was kind of forceful, but they didn't stack a lot with it. That was kind of interesting.
Fortunately, we're not seeing any price when we take.
Not that tick, at least. That tick up was kind of weird because it ticked up and they stacked like 500 on it, which was not very much, but the whole level 2 kind of paused there for a second anyways. So someone was doing some thinking. Okay, so now that's kind of... Oh, trader asking, why do you risk 4 ticks for 1 tick more? Yeah, I just wasn't seeing the thing that made me think that it was going to stop there. Now I kind of am. Maybe it might already be too late. So that 18.5 kind of looks like a lure to me now. No? Oh, come on. Well, they tried to warn me. I just didn't see it, man.
Everybody ready for triple witching tomorrow? Just too much volume, man.
A lot of volume today.
Yeah, I think it's like in preparation for triple witching for tomorrow.
I honestly didn't even think about the Chinese selling treasuries. That makes sense. It's just that, I mean, look, we've seen selling before, right? We've seen treasuries lower this year before. But the way that it has moved down there is weird to me. There are so many times where I look at that and I say, you know, that should cause at least a short-term bounce. You know, they should be giving it just a little bit of room. Like, I should be able to catch it, and it never does it. Why don't I have the bund open? Yeah, well, that's a good question, MZ. I just feel like I don't have enough room on the screen for it. So I do have a chart of it, but I could fit a lot more stuff on the screen by making things smaller, but then you wouldn't be able to read the numbers when you replay it, so I don't feel like I'm missing out on too much. The problem I'm having with my battle that I'm having with myself now is, okay, it's come back more than 2. Maybe you should just get out here. But then I still see the potential for it to keep going like this. Just looks like a return to the VWAP. It should bounce here. Yeah, it bends this lead a little bit. I do have them over here on the chart, right? I do have this over here, so I'm sure that the bund DOM would probably just confuse me more than anything, because it's a little different from, you know, it's not as thick as the treasuries because they're smaller prices, but yeah. I think I've noticed John Grady on his screen. He has, like, I think he has UB, and then he does have the bund and ES, but he doesn't really show them this, like, as much information on them. He kind of has ones like that, you know, just shows the book. So I moved it. Why did I move it to break even? I don't know. So help me out here. How should I be thinking about this? Well, so my first thing is still, like, what was it about the 19 that should have made me get out? Was it just seeing those big orders? Was that really a big enough reason to take it out? You know? So maybe, but the thing was, is I wasn't seeing, like, a ton of volume go through, and I kind of really thought these were going to pull. And then we ticked down. We never really got the chance to find out, did we? So trader definitely saw something there that I did not. Okay. So now it's coming back, and I'm thinking, okay, it's still above my risk. It still didn't hit my target, and I really want to see it hit 20.
At 8.
Like the bet I'm making here. Okay, 170 is
Yeah, like it might follow the NASDAQ.
the bet I'm making here is that it's going to touch 20 before it touches 16.
Can't break. Huh.
Okay. So that 19.5 does not look... Well, 19.5 does not look nearly as menacing as it did the first time around. Oh, yeah, look at that. Okay, so this is not pulling away. So I think I should take it there. Yeah. I really thought that we were going to get 200, but it is 5. It is 5,000, so that's enough to say maybe we should take it off.
I mean, I think on ZN, if you're getting like +3, you know, I'm gonna take another like shorter long here because I've just like buying the top and the bottom each sucks. Baiting me.
Now he's happy. They're talking about this guy in chat. So I really want to know though, Trader, what's your logic? You say you should sell there. What is the logic that you're going on? Because I think that time I did the right thing, but I can only see that in retrospect because I see this zipper, and I know like when I see a zipper, those are usually the places that I want to exit, and so that's the only reason why I know that taking 19.5 was probably the right choice versus 20, even though it could totally continue through, you know. So was it that you were seeing these two big orders here, and you think, well, there's a lesser probability that it gets through that wall, and so you should take 19? Or there was something about the action there that made you think that it's going to stop? Or were you just saying if you have +3 to 5, you should take it off? Because I still think that managing the trade, like you can just tell that somebody even just saying something makes me go like, oh, hold up, right? Like if it was a buying order and my risk was all right and everything like that, I would just be like, well, fuck you. I'm going to trade the way that I think I should, right? But the exits, I don't know how to backtest that to see that, oh, I should use this strategy to get out versus this strategy to get out, you know? I've never been able to take something that was complicated enough. Okay, so just looking at YouTube now, I see NZ with Y stopping at 17. It should touch 200 first before 60. Yeah. I mean, that was my bet. That was definitely the bet that I was making. I moved it up to 170 because I just feel like I shouldn't be letting a 4-tick winner turn into a 2-tick loser, right? I think, well, how much did it come back? I think that if I get a 5-tick pullback on something, then I should be out. Right? Like, think of it this way. I have to do a little bit of... I have to open something up new here so I can show you guys why the 5-tick thing matters. ZN 30 minutes, no tick replay, past year. Okay. Here's a good chart. And I'm going to add my range histogram. And I'm going to change the data series to be what I call the Seth trading hours, STH. Okay. So during my trading hours, what is the most common range in the 30 minutes? Well, it's between 2 and 8 ticks. And the peak is here at 4 or 5. So what that tells us is average rotation is 5 ticks. And you can see that right here. We came back 4, right? We came up 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we came up and took a 1 tick higher. Now we're in a zipper. The zipper is always a stopping point. They could continue through here to 21.5, or they could come back to 18 and stop there, and then come up and take 21.5, or they could come and get 1 tick lower. Like, those are all the pivot possibilities, right? So if I had +4 and it comes back like all the way the 4 and takes out that 17, then it's more than an average rotation. Now the truth though is that Trader was correct that this really, I would want to get out here. This was the pivot at 19, and then if I still believed in it back at 18, then I could get back in and take 18 to 19.5. That would be like the optimal trade, but I'm just not that good. Right? Like, you can't catch every single one. But that was where, you know, the risk kind of said. I guess the one thing is that really 16.5 was like where I said, you know, where we kind of had things set. So I was basing it off of this pivot, which was the open. I don't know if that makes sense, but that was what I was thinking. You got to pull to green, 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 fast 5 ticks, and then someone steps on the brick just before the target. Fuck the goal, sometimes less is more, and if it is 2 ticks against you, who tells you that it will not be more? Yeah, okay, that makes a bit more sense. He's saying you have a clear target, which is the let me move this out of the way. You're saying you have a target, and it's based on a clear level that meant something in the past, which was yesterday. That was where there was a huge wall and tons of drama is at 20.
The guy in the chat at a point. It's like the worst feeling in the world to see, especially when it's.
So he's saying if there's a target and you see somebody stepping up just in front of it.
Doesn't make the feeling any worse when it happens.
Well,
I feel that.
I think what he's trying to say though is that you have a very clear target that is very obvious, and you can already see somebody stepping on the brakes in front of it. That's a signal there that somebody is going to try and fight and stop us from getting to that target.
Grab like 3, and it continues up. Find another bit. Yeah, you're paying double commission. Kind of gotten a second confirmation. Sometimes you'll be able to get an extra price and bounce down a little bit, but you're done that a few times. Trading on did and all.
Yeah, I actually like doing that.
But you know, if you're gonna sit and watch the trade, manage the trade live and watch. Just be one of those guys that just want to do that. Don't sit and watch the trade.
Well, you have to have an exit strategy that has some degree of edge and is consistent, right? So you don't want, what happens to me is I don't have like a lot of statistics that tell me things that I should be exiting on, other than things that I see would be entries for me. And so, when I see there at like 19.5 and I see that big wall, well, it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, that's not a significant enough signal to tell me that I really have to get out, because that's still like a 50-50 thing. And is it worth, I don't know. In that case, it's probably not worth it, because we were just going to take the 20 anyways, right? So seeing somebody stepping in at 19.5 is a pretty good reason to get out. But I don't know, the way that it was, I'm glad I didn't take 19. But
Never, never go broke taking a profit. Getting out of it.
what?
I mean, don't aim.
I just think it's more complicated than that, right? It's all about your risk reward. So if you're risking on average 2 ticks, and I definitely let it just go to the stop and take me out at 2 to 3 ticks, right? Then if I'm always taking +2 on everything, you're not going to come out profitable doing that.
Once you're in the green, like 3, you move up your stop or something off your risk.
Yeah.
Walking in, now have 0 risk. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, sure.
I mean, you can reduce your risk as the trade.
Well, and that's the same thing with like what do we call it? Where if you're trading multiple contracts, you set multiple targets, and that way you already have 2 ticks in profit already on there. Then if it does come back to your entry, or if it does go all the way back to your risk, you still didn't actually lose anything.
I don't know. I mean, something that I do is why I trade two more than I put on two lots. I mean, there are arguments against just hit your target. You're actually risking. I always say, as long as what you're doing works, it doesn't matter.
Well, with
Trade outside and let it run its course and let it.
if you're swing trading, the thing is with that particular exit strategy of scaling out, there's mathematical edge in it, right? So even if you aren't trading very good signals, you're not trading very high probability, you can still make money because your edge is in your risk management system, right? So there's all these little places where you can pull out a little bit of edge, and especially in treasuries, it matters because that difference between, a $32 average profit and a $62 average profit is a big deal. Like, that's the difference between making money and not in treasuries.
Bought in earlier today. I bought it at 160. Crappy problem.
But what Trader is talking about, I think, is a little bit more sophisticated. Oh, actually, they did trade through 200 just now. If there's a target and people are taking profits in front of the target, for scalpers, it makes sense to also take the profit.
Whatever works for you. Whatever he's saying. I mean, if you don't like it, follow it. You don't.
And this is where the scalping thing kind of comes into conflict, because I'm much better at seeing the higher time frame stuff and not the scalping. And so the scalping told you, yeah, maybe it's not worth holding through there. But the volume profile kind of said maybe we would touch 21.5, and look, there we did. But what was actually the probability of it touching that? I think that the probability of it touching that for a scalper, it was worth taking the 4.
So it's kind of interesting
Mm-hmm.
that
That he scales in crazy.
but basically the way he does it is. I mean, I like the way he trades a lot. It makes a lot of sense. Like a day trader. You'll throw in a core position. And it probably works better on like E. He'll scratch, or he'll take his. Once he gets in a trade, once it starts trending, he'll lock in. So the move may only be like 12. buying it all the way up, but I was.
Yeah. See, one of the things when I look at what you have there is like when everything is 2 ticks, you know. That's kind of a not having enough conviction or not having enough of an edge, because that's just kind of like random. Like you're down, but
It's really bad.
it's mostly random.
Of watching first charts.
Oh man, that's interesting. So he's probably pretty mad at himself because he kind of did do it right, but he didn't. Yeah. Well, he was buying on that whole way down, so he thought it was going to reverse, but he bought a little bit too high, so he took profits on it, but probably not as much as he wanted.
Were you there for that?
No, I don't think it was.
Bet your 480 line? Like, nope. Maybe.
Oh. Oh man. Really, if you were trading 100 in Zen, would that really be large enough that the order flow would maybe screw you over? I feel like you could go up to at least 1,000 before you start to become a target. Maybe that's not what he's trying to say.
He's very serious.
So here on mine, the thing I just point out is that the only reason why it did really good today was because the risk was correct on them, right? Like when I took that at 17, it actually went 2 ticks against me, but my risk was 2 ticks. And so I was able to hold on to it to get the +6. If I had taken it 1 tick higher, just 1 tick higher, I would have gotten stopped out. So when you have a range or a level or whatever, it kind of matters. Like you need to be able to set your risk past some point that has some chance of holding.
Year. Actually, I have a lot of $5. expensive.
So I don't know if Camel is watching, but we're just gonna pull this up here so we can really show him. I also need to start posting the charts because it is 8:36. I don't want to get myself yapping too much. Yep. When you start trading back into a evenly distributed volume profile, the chances are you trade back through to the other side. So pretty good chance that they're going to touch 29.27. In the E-mini. Like that's from Mind Over Markets. What's his name? The market profile guy. That was one of.
I don't mind.
No. Dalton. That's right, Dalton. Yeah, if you haven't read that book, I would. That's like the holy grail of day trading. But that's one of the things at the end of his book, like edges from market profile, that has some proven historical help. Although you'd have to test it for this particular instrument. I've never done that, but when you've moved outside of a profile and then you come back into it, if it stays there for more than 30 minutes, there's a good chance that they trade to the other side of it. And it's something like 60%. Okay. So I'm going to post some notes first, and then I will show you this thing about why I trade CN instead of ZF, okay?
Crazy.
Well, that's where, it would be worth me trying again, but when I was trying it, my problem was that I would pick my risk so badly that even if I was overall right, they would stop me out every time.
No. Crazy. Takes a lot of willpower.
Oops, I didn't write anything.
I don't want to trade him.
Okay, so yeah, I post a picture here in the chat of it so that you can see. When I traded ZB, I was very swingy and inconsistent, and when I switched to ZN, I started to get a much smoother equity curve, and I did really quite well during that 3-4 month period. Now since then I've done poorly, and that has more to do with my market not being able to adjust to different markets than it does the instrument, and that's why I'm just not showing it in this particular instance. But that's why, for me, I trade ZN, and I think that if you're trading order flow, there's some good reasons to trade ZN instead of ZB. You got to keep a lot of things in mind, and I would just say, if you are trading ZB, you know, you've definitely got to watch the other ones still, because the spreads can give you really deceiving pictures. That's a good question. What does the no, I already closed it. Crap. So if I go back to 5/1/2017 to today, and I only show ES, oh, okay. Well, so we check here in YouTube to see if there's comments here. Whole lot of nothing. So you didn't take it through any of that today, Uzi? That's interesting. You know, when you think about it, it's kind of interesting when you think about it. It was actually kind of rangy, like it was a big range, but like we had to move down, fell, and came back up, really. And but the thing that was interesting about today was that they were really trading it, you know? They were hitting into, you could go up and down several times over a minute, and they were really trading back and forth, and that makes really good trading, as long as they're not swinging really bad, which we had a little bit of that, but we were still able to make it out. So I don't know, we're having really good trading this September. Now I remember this kind of happening last year, and then October coming and it being not so good, like in October and November. So I think what you got is September tends to be a month where people make moves, and October and November are a little bit more mixed. So let's keep that in mind. But yeah, I mean, I'm liking the way things are going so far. Yesterday was bad, but today was pretty good. So yeah. Anyways, should get going. I will see you guys tomorrow.